Hello everyone and welcome back to the Road to Infinity War. This time we're talking about Thor and looking back on it. So, released in 2011, directed by Kenneth Branagh, and starring Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman and Tom Hiddleston, as well as Anthony Hopkins and Idris Elba. So going back and watch this film again, I was just amazed by how it's quite a simple tale, how it's basically a redemption arc for Thor, and also him growing up into becoming essentially almost like a child to becoming someone who takes responsibility for their actions. And because of this simplicity of this plot, that's what I thought made the film even better. I would say perhaps the scenes on Earth are perhaps the weakest part, but they're still very strong and they're still very enjoyable. Natalie Portman and Stellan Skarsgård do perform really well. The other actress who's with them, she's not too bad, but at least it's not overly done, unlike with For the Dark World, where they're pushed a bit too much. And even the part where he's going to S.H.I.E.L.D. and fighting through their containment field, probably that's the best we can call it. I thought that was quite nice. Then we got a little hints, well, not rather hint, but first time we see Hawkeye before he officially joins the Avengers. Nice little cameo from him. But it was also quite good how this film, with obviously Thor's hammer, it's still linking in with Iron Man 2. We're obviously at the end of Iron Man 2. Coulson goes off to go to the New Mexico desert to see the hammer. So obviously at a certain point, Iron Man 2 and Thor, the events are quite linked. Well, chronologically, they must be, because Coulson leaves about halfway through Iron Man 2. So in other words, Thor must be happening very close to those events. And Tom Hiddleston as Loki, probably the best villain that Marvel have produced so far. Unless you could say probably the closest to it would be Michael Keaton as the Vulture. That's probably the best one after Loki. The rest are pretty forgettable over a large extent, really. Chris Hemsworth himself does a really great job. I'm not sure what else he's been in before this, aside from a little cameo in Star Trek. But aside from that, he hasn't appeared too much on the radar. But obviously, this is 7 years ago now, and this was his big starting up point. Of course, he wasn't unknown at that then, but he still does a really good job throughout. And I think when I've seen him, he still does a really good job in the film. Other secondary roles, Idris Elba and Anthony Hopkins, they're just fantastic throughout. Obviously, if they'd had more roles throughout the film, then it probably wouldn't have let Tom Hiddleston or Chris Hemsworth really shine their roles. So it's quite understandable. But Anthony Hopkins and Idris Elba, they're just fantastic in it, and they play their small roles to perfection. I know that Idris Elba kind of wanted bigger roles later on, which he hasn't really. Even with Thor Ragnarok, hasn't really gone the way for him. And even the battles, they were really good in this film. Cause that's what I quite like when you have smaller battles, because you can't exactly expect a massive battle like you can get in the Avengers. Those things get too big, too massive. It's nice to have these smaller sort of events to make it feel more intimate for the audience. So yeah, that's some quick thoughts looking back on Thor again. So we're going to watch Captain America next, the first Avenger. That shouldn't be too long to see that and put out shortly. We'll have Altered Carbon comes out tomorrow, by the time I release this. So we're doing plenty of reviews for that, so stick around for that. So please subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, and goodbye.